All right, let's see if we can push some buttons here and actually make some magic happen at some point. Give me like 3, 2, 1.
Come on, man.
It's
Go for it, dude.
It's Friday. Friday. Day.
It is a Freestyle Friday here on SDH AM. It's the morning show. John here, you there. Thanks for coming by, as you always do. It's a complete and total weekendy preview thing because there's a lot of news and there's a lot of stuff that's out there in the ether that we need to keep an eye on in addition to news. So there's reports, there's news. Margaret Fleming from Front Office Sports is going to join us at 10:30 to kind of break things down for us there, get her thoughts on the tournament that just passed, and we'll take it from here. Anything else on her mind as she gets to be the bow on the show here on a Friday. Yesterday, after we go off the air, things went totally sideways. And it was one of those afternoons where you literally are having to sit there and go, okay, so what just happened? Literally. It literally is one of those things where you're just like, what in the blue hell just happened here? And we'll try and come up with all of the information that happened yesterday to keep an eye on today and in the weekend and now here in the window, because with the MLS secondary window being what it is, and the rest of the planet getting ready for their tours and their teams and their actual seasons that go from this year to through next year, MLS is in their last year of, year, because if you go through this, then you go through this season, then you go through the sprint, and then that lines up everything. So you're looking at the next 12 calendar months before MLS catches up with everyone and flips and goes metric. So yesterday, it was almost like, and I guess technically this is opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Starting your day with the most important stories in the game, the right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta, trying their home blend made from beans from Brazil and Guatemala, heavy-bodied, notes of walnut and semi-sweet chocolate, rich world-class finish, opening kickoff, powered by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com from the Kaiser Permanente studios. Once again, thanks to our friends at Kaiser Permanente for being great partners with us from the absolute beginning, and we could not have done any of this without them at all. Kaiser Permanente, great friends and partners with us here at SDH. Morning look, that is a hell of a question. How's the Open Cup going to work with a schedule flip? My guess is that it will be as it is, but it will be increasingly difficult for MLS teams to, and it might be one of those where MLS teams are choosing which competition they want to be a part of, because you've got Leagues Cup, you've got Open Cup, and you've got regular season, and you've got CONCACAF all happening at some points. I imagine that that Open Cup being what it is and Leagues Cup being what it is, you're probably going to have the schedule makers all in a room. It literally is going to have to be the MLS schedule maker over in one chair, and it's going to have to be one of those long rectangular tables. It can't be just like the kiddie table where, you know, if you've got 15 people at a family reunion and you're like 14 years old, you're adult enough to be at the adult table, but you're stuck with your cousins that you don't like. And you're sitting there and it's like, you know, great, I get to sit with people that want to talk about things that I have no interest in. It's got to be a table this size, rectangular. It can't be the kiddie table off into the side room. You can't be just sitting in the kiddie table that's kind of been put in underneath the door jamb in between the den and the living room. You should be sitting in the living room. This has to be a living room discussion, a dining room. This has to be a dining room discussion. You need a table that big. You can't be out on the patio with with your cousins and the weird nephew that wants to wear that he wants to wear stuff that lumberjacks wear, and he wants to wear it in July at the family reunion. You can't be out on the patio with those guys. You've got to be in the dining room, because you're talking MLS, you're talking Leagues Cup, you're talking Open Cup, and you're talking CONCACAF. So this is probably going to be a good Russian table. Like in like Network, where Ned Beatty's down at the end and Peter Finch is kind of going like this, Morning, David. Yes, Dave 54. No morning show. But there is stuff going on that we're going to talk about later. So you got to have CONCACAF at the table. You got to have MLS at the table. You got to have Open Cup at the table, and you got to have Leagues Cup at the table. And I imagine you're going to have to choose two. One being MLS and pick another. If you're in CONCACAF, the decision has been made for you. If you're not in CONCACAF, then if you're one of the top teams, then you're probably going MLS and Leagues Cup. If you're not a top team, whatever that line of demarcation is, then it's probably it's going to be standings dependent, and it will end up being MLS and. So if you're MLS and CONCACAF, that's your direction. If you're one of the top teams that didn't make it into CONCACAF, it's MLS and Leagues Cup. So you can face the top teams in Liga MX. And then if you're not in that group, then it's MLS and Open Cup. That's my guess. Because you can't be in like 3 or 4 different competitions all at once. Maybe there's this. Maybe there is a Champions League, Europa League thing where if you get bumped out of a CONCACAF soon enough, then you go into another one. And like the second round of, you get into a later round of Open Cup, which might be a part of the discussion too. So something like that. So if you get bumped out of CONCACAF, then you go to Open Cup. If you're not, then if you don't make it by a deadline, then everything goes to hell, and then it's all screwed. So my guess is, as we're workshopping this, MLS +1, and your +1 is going to be determined by how good you are. So MLS CONCACAF, MLS Leagues Cup, MLS Open Cup. And you can't have a Europa League, Champions League thing where if you get bumped out of one early, then you slide in because you need to be done by a date, and then you got to figure out what's going on. And if you're not done, then you screw up the other one. So good Russian table, hermetically sealed office, 4 calendars going at once. It's going to be an MLS +1. That'd be my guess. Timing where some of the matches are in the new off season. And that might be the gap space where these competitions, fit themselves in. I think that's, like I said, you got to get all 4 of these folks in a room, or whoever the folks are that are wearing the glasses with the tape in the middle and the pocket protectors. Take your stereotype however deep you want to take it. All four parties have to be in the same room at the same time. They're all going to have their schedules out for 27. It's like literally probably in that break between MLS Cup 26 and Sprint 27, they're all going to be in a room probably in New York City. New York City! And that's probably where it's going to have to be decided. Big Russian table, hermetically sealed room. You order in food, and you got to sit down and get your 27 mapped out. But that's my guess. Everybody's going to sit there and go, okay, well, I've got this. This is league play. So league play would be like here. CONCACAF would be like, okay, well, we're here. And since Leagues Cup and Open Cup traditionally have their, Open Cup has their qualifying stages and they're, doing their thing. Open Cup, now you got me looking here. Let's see, U.S. Open Cup. Let's see what the grid looks like. So Lamar Hunt, U.S. Open Cup. Schedule and tickets. So, all right, so schedule / results. So here's how the schedule was to start the year. First qualifying round was a long time ago, back in September 25. Fourth qualifying round, first round. Okay, so the first round of the tournament that does not involve MLS started March 17th. So 17, 18, 19, and 25. That was the first round. Second round still did not have any involvement from Major League Soccer, and that was March 31st. March 31st, April 1st. Round of 32 was when you started bringing in MLS teams, and that was April 14th. So you'll be in the new schedule. Open Cup itself, when is the sprint? See, we're working for those folks already by doing this. Yeah, we're already doing part of their work. So the sprint season, it's a new era for Major League Soccer, by the way. Kicking off in February, culminating in May. So the sprint season, So the sprint season has MLS Cup playoffs and MLS Cup presented by Audi in May. 14 in for conference games February through April. Doesn't give dates, obviously, because they haven't all been sitting at the Russian table yet. So top 8 teams in each of the 2 conferences qualify for the playoffs. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so competition calendar. 27, July of 27. So we haven't gotten to that part yet. So February through May. My guess is that for Open Cup, you might be going with the teams that don't make the playoffs. That might be part of this, because if the sprint season starts in February and you're looking at round 2 of Open Cup in April, you're getting toward the end of the sprint regular season. So it might be Open Cup would be the teams that don't make it into the playoffs in MLS in the sprint season slide to Open Cup. Like I said, this is all us just workshopping this right now. This is what this is. So if you are trying to line up the dudes at the Russian table in the hermetically sealed office building in the conference room, hermetically sealed conference room in an office building in New York City. So you have round 2 of the Open Cup is where it starts with the MLS teams. This year, that was April 14th. April 14th would be putting that into the tail end of the regular season in MLS in the sprint. What MLS may request is that those games be slid 2 weeks to May 1st, because round 2 was 14th of round 2 this year was the 14th of April, 14-15. Then the round of 16 this year was April 28. So you may be asking Open Cup to slide their calendar 3 weeks. If we go by what we're seeing in 26, and what we're anticipating in 27, and what the timeline was, April 14th would be the tail end of the regular season in the sprint, which blocks out teams that are going into the playoffs. So my guess is that if you are looking for participation in Open Cup, you are probably assigning teams that have not made the postseason in the sprint, and also those that are that won last year, because you have to have your defending champ, and then pushing the schedule to the playoffs or the playoff week in May to make sure that you don't have things colliding. They're colliding enough as it is, but my guess is Open Cup schedule slides to round 2, and the round of 32 was middle of April. So since the sprint is going to be wrapping up at that point, you're probably sliding things 2 or 3 weeks. And the teams that don't make the postseason in Major League Soccer, plus your defending champ and maybe your runner-up from last year, go into Open Cup. But my guess is Open Cup's round of 32 won't start until May. So you're pushing things 3 weeks. Then if you push things 3 weeks, you're looking at first part of May, tail end of May for the round of 16. So you're displaced 3 weeks to a month. And then your quarterfinals are middle of May. That gets slid to probably early June. And then semifinals September. So, I mean, literally you could slide the schedule as much as you want, because this year, September 16th is when you're going to have Open Cup semis on Paramount Plus and CBS Sports Network. Doubleheader in Columbus, Ohio, and in Commerce City, Colorado. So that's my guess, is that things slide in Open Cup because the gap space between the quarterfinals, which happened in May, and the semifinals, which happened in September, that's a block. And it won't be as bad because you will be in your 27 season, in that time frame. So my guess is that you might slide the quarters to August because you'll be in season, and then September stays, and everything else is fine. So that's that is our workshopping of the whole thing. What we have just done is given everyone that's going to be in that office building in New York City from the 4 parties that are going to be trying to settle things down, we have helped them out. That's what we do here on Fridays. That's what we do here every single day of the week. That's what we do. We're here to help. So we have workshopped through the sprint season MLS teams and their availabilities and how to reorient the Open Cup schedule, which honestly, because of that gap that's so big between late May and September, mid-September this year, it ain't that bad. So that can get slid. You won't have as much of a gap in your off time going from one to the other. So that's the thing. So David with a point, and we're going to block biased perfectionist blah, blah, blah. So David's point is this. Take the teams failing to make the playoffs in 26, and if they're playing well in the April sprint, let them drop in their 2s to take that spot instead. And that's another part here, is that you could probably substitute your second teams in and be a part of this too. So, if it needs to be a flow chart. If this, then this. And then if this, and also what it does is it gets your first team players that haven't been getting reps the opportunity to go down and be with the 2s and get reps that way. So there needs to be some give and take here, but I like the idea of including the 2s into this. If your first team ain't in it, then if your first team's busy, second team can go in, and then you can do it that way. So, and the teams in USL Championship and League One can sit there and go, ooh, we got a chance to knock off a big dog. So that would be the response probably in every USL market known to mankind. So, but no, David, I like the idea of including the second teams in there somewhere, especially if your first team's kind of busy. So it needs to be a codicil in there somewhere at some point to go, well, okay, well, can we include our second team if our first team is busy? And then, if the Open Cup sits there and goes, well, sure, if you want. And then if you want first team players to drop down to get some reps, you can, but it's primarily your second team roster because your first team is busy. And it's a game night. So unless, of course, you have to sign a short-term agreement. Went down that rabbit hole the other day. Short-term agreements. That needs to be fixed like yesterday. But that's just me. Okay, that was opening kickoff. See, we fixed everything for 27. We fixed it all. Let's see. So, okay. So it looks like we might be joined by Dax McCarty at 10 o'clock. So it might just be the voice of Dax McCarty. He'll be a ventriloquist. And we'll talk about Griezmann and everything else and all that. Okay. And as we're chasing after Eddie Pope is going to get acclimated. So Eddie Pope was announced and named and all that. So Eddie Pope got a new job to help out with MLS Next and Next Pro. And so when he is acclimated, then we will catch up with Eddie Pope too. Yeah, well, and that's the thing is that, Alex, the short term is for league games. An Open Cup wouldn't count against it. I don't want the reverse to happen. Well, you can only have X number of first team players as a part. If your second team is involved, and you want first team players, I don't want it to be something where you can only have X number of first team players. Although you're not going to sit there and you're not going to blow up your first team roster if you're in the middle of the schedule. You might send some folks down to get reps or be available. I just don't want the reverse to happen. That's kind of what I would be chasing here. Did I get a refund down here for Wednesday night? I get no refunds, sir. I get no refunds at all. But all right, so that's opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends, Black Pitch Coffee, blackpitchcoffee.com. And once again, quick reminder, starting your day with the most important stories in the game and doing it the right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community. Showing up at events all over Atlanta, trying their home blend made with beans and Brazil, Guatemala, heavy body, rich walnut and semi-sweet chocolate with a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff, powered by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Okay. I want to go to the news first because of all the chaos, and we'll talk about the chaos that happened yesterday in all the names and transfers and things. This morning, it was announced. It was announced that Jurgen Klopp is going to be taking over the German national team. He's going to be taking over. DFB and Klopp and Red Bull all came down to their agreement of agreements, and he's going to be coming in. So this is one of the more interesting allowances that was made in that press conference this morning by Jurgen Klopp. Oh, reffing. Did I get reffing down here for Wednesday night? Let's see. I'm trying to think. God, yeah. Yeah. I mean that with that whole thing, that 4 minutes and 12 seconds, Lokeville. Yeah, it was. Yeah. No, I don't know if I'm sleeping late, Abby. Let's see. Sleeping late. What will I do tomorrow morning? What's sleeping late? I don't know if I'm going to be sleeping late. So tomorrow I might be sleeping in a little bit, I hope. But we do have with Atlanta United late, with their match in New England, Abe and Maddie will have your pregame at 6:30. I think, or at 6. Yeah, 6:30. 6:30 pregame, Five Stripes countdown, 7:40 kick in Foxborough. Mike and Jason on the call there. Abe and Maddie on pregame and Five Stripes countdown and your full-time report after. I will be calling the UPSL South Region final at MOBA at 6 between SCU Heat and Miami United. So I've got to get some research done. I might be able to lay around a little bit. So hopefully. Reffing down here, Lokeville, we probably could have done an entire show on Sergi Boyko. And it was at times you didn't know where it was coming from. So Boyko, that reminds me, when we do the preview here coming up in a bit and find out who's where and doing what before Margaret Fleming joins us and all that. So it looks like Dax McCarty is going to join us at 10, and it will be Margaret Fleming from Front Office Sports at 10:30. So I need to check something quickly now that we've gone down like 19 different rabbit holes. We've got all of these tabs open this morning. All right, so pro MLS assignments. Okay, so do we have – all right, so we got them this morning. And I'm going to check and see. Okay. So he got his assignment. So he was assigned DC and Toronto. I'm just going to tell folks now in DC, with DC and Toronto, enjoy. The man sets picks. His angles are awful, or at least they were in that matchup with Atlanta. And I don't know what that crew was thinking. I really don't. Really don't know what they were thinking. I don't know what VAR was thinking, because then because when you get a player kicked in the head and you don't look at it, and then it comes back the other way and it turns into a goal, and then you want to rewind it back to Will Riley and getting a red when no card was given initially, and then you give it a yellow after review, but you don't go back even further and look at a kick in the head inside the 18, which should have been a penalty for Atlanta United. But I guess that was too far back. It's too far back to look. The rewind button died. But, yeah, that crew left a lot to be desired. Let's phrase it that way. So, yeah, we did to do a full reffing down here. Yeah, so, Abby, the key is 15:35 in the match from the midweek. For those of you that have, however you access your games, go to the 15:35 mark. And it was just before the transition came back the other way and Charlotte scores. But literally, it was a kick to the head. Ashley Westwood delivered a kick to the head, and nothing was called. You come back the other way, and you end up with the goal, and you end up with the review that was 4 minutes and 12 seconds. From the time that Sergi Boyko goes like this, and he's told, I guess, from upstairs that he should go to the monitor, it was 4 minutes and 12 seconds that they looked at Will Riley and his contact with the Charlotte player, who didn't go down, who kept going. And yes, I know it was studs into the Achilles/fib. I know this. Player didn't go down, but you needed to go back further and see the kick to the head by Ashley Westwood inside the 18. And I think it was on Elias Baez, if I'm not mistaken. Where are my notes? Okay, so it's a transition moment, 2v1, Vargas scores. But, yeah, go back to 15:35 in the game. And that's really the moment where you said to you, oh, okay. And the fact that Sergi Boyko only called 12 fouls, and he only called 3 on Charlotte, if I remember correctly. It literally was 3 on Charlotte, 9 on Atlanta, and his margins were basically 25%. It was like 3 yellows and 9 fouls, and it was 1 yellow on 3 fouls. So it was, I don't know. I really don't. I was at a loss for explanation because, frankly, there wasn't one. So literally, the stats in this match: 12 fouls called, 3 on Charlotte, 1 yellow, 9 on Atlanta, 3 yellows. Sergi Boyko is like third to last. I mean, this was worse than Alan Chapman numbers. Alan Chapman has a distance of himself at 32nd to 31, 30, and 29 when it comes to fouls called per match. Sergi Boyko was a third less than Alan Chapman on average. So 12 fouls called in that match, the way that it was structured. Apparently, he didn't want to use his whistle for whatever reason. And a lot happened, and then Charlotte was able to do whatever they wanted to do because of the whistle not being blown. Stopping, getting rear-ended, get a foul call, player goes down, contact, boom. You're going to grab, you're going to do all these things. Sergi Boyko's not going to whistle, then, you can go ahead and do it. But he only called 12 fouls in this match, 9 on Atlanta United, 3 yellows, 3 on Charlotte, 3 fouls on Charlotte, which is mind-numbing to me. I can't think of the last time that any team in Major League Soccer only had 3 fouls called on them, and 12 fouls total. I mean, it was a very World Cup-like performance. FIFA does not like fouls called in the World Cup. They let the players play. Sergi Boyko apparently was looking at that and was like, hey, that's a great idea. 12 fouls called in that match. 9 on Atlanta, 3 yellows, 3 on Charlotte with 1 yellow. It is unconscionable to me. It's unconscionable. And then Alex is like, not only did he go down, he slapped Will in the head. Red VAR seemed to be reckless challenge. Looked like Will only caught his heel. Yeah, because he catches. So Will, as he's going, he kind of catches like halfway up and he gets the Achilles a little bit and he kind of brushes his way down. And rolled up on the other heel. Training leg. Attacker looks surprised. And yeah. So they didn't go back far enough in the review for this particular play, and I should have pulled the audio, and I might do that just because on Monday when Bart comes in. But you didn't go back far enough. You did not go back far enough in your review. Ashley Westwood kicked Elias Baez in the head. You see it at 15:35. You literally see Ashley Westwood clang Elias Baez in the head. I don't know why they didn't go back far enough, Abby. That's a question for the booth. That is a question that I have no answer for. But they thought that they should only go back to the Will Riley moment and not go back even further in the buildup as to how the turnover was created inside their own 18 when Ashley Westwood clanged Elias Baez in the head with a right foot. And it was a high boot. I mean, it literally was a high boot. It's like that reel that we see on Instagram with I think it's the 4 soccer balls that are attached to the post, and you have the person come up and kick the ball, and then Zlatan kicks it. This was like at position 4. This was up here, the one where he does the frickin' crane kick. Well, it's more like it's just like it literally was an attack. It wasn't a crane kick because that's the other way. But I mean, literally, it is literally like a Savat kick, and he just, it's up here at like 6.5 feet, and Ashley Westwood. Bang. He hits Elias Baez right in the side of the head with a right boot. It was a high boot. They didn't go back far enough to that, which caused the turnover and the transition, which went back the other way, that created the goal eventually. And all of that would have been wiped out. No review. Wouldn't have mattered. Will wouldn't have gotten a card, red or otherwise, yellow, what have you, because they went back to the first part of the play. Everything else dies off. Westwood should have gotten a yellow card for a high boot, and then boom. Okay, so David says that Apple checked on possible PK and moved on, checked for a good goal. Yeah, no offside, and cleared that it went to possible red. Now I'm unsure if that was a guess or if they got info. That's what the broadcast said. I saw no second angle of the possible PK. Yeah, literally, they didn't go back. In the review, we don't see, and to your point, David, yes. So we might have to go to Inside the VAR studio when that gets released by Pro. But if you look at the review that they take, that 4 minutes and 12 seconds, it's all about Will Riley. It is not about what happened inside the 18. So they deemed it whatever. So they deemed a high boot by Ashley Westwood to the cranium of Elias Baez not worthy of a second look. Check for a possible PK, move on. You move on from a guy basically trying to karate kick, a Savat kick into another player. So a high boot you ignore. You're like, nah, we move on. Then the red card review, that 4 minutes and 12 seconds of Will Riley that you didn't call anything initially, but you did to a yellow. And then you end up with, and the broadcasts through the Slack channel, I believe, for Major League Soccer, they get extra intel than the rest of us, I think. But I'm going to have to go back and listen to Callum and Kalen and find out what they were listening to and what their review was in that 4 minutes. And so David, Miggy clearly thought Westwood issue was being looked at. When the ref says something to Miggy before going to the monitor, Miggy clearly thinks it's Westwood. Then the ref must tell him the wrong team. And and then Miggy goes, So it's in that. So, yeah, I mean, I guess we're kind of doing a de facto reffing down here, but they didn't go back far enough. and they didn't look at it. At least publicly, they didn't look at it. They didn't acknowledge that they had looked at it or they had moved on from it. The review was the Will Riley red. The violent conduct, which it wasn't, ends up as a yellow. I'm fine with that. Okay, cool. But if you had gone back and seen Klang, or you thought that, maybe you should have looked at this, then all that gets wiped away. Goal gets wiped away. The Riley card gets wiped away. All of it gets wiped away. You get a shot from the spot, and then I think the match is different. So I'm going to have to go back and look. So I'm going to write this down. Go back and look. Let's see. All right. So going back and looking. And at this rate, it might just be headlines this morning. Okay. So go back and look and listen to Callum and Kalen on the Riley VAR. Okay, that's my homework. All right, so I've got my homework. All right, so yesterday, here's what happened yesterday. Here's what a piece of what happened yesterday. Like I said, Dax McCarty set to join us in 20 minutes. He might be from the Santa Fe. We won't see his face. So yesterday we go off the air. Here's the rundown of everything that happened yesterday that we have to now officially keep an eye on. So, Jack Harrison looks like he might be going from Leeds to New England Revolution. That would be a designated player. That happened at 11:04. 11:40, looks like Sebastian Berhalter might be heading to Middlesbrough. Tom Bogert said so. It looks like a fee of about $2 million. Then all the Atlanta United stuff. Darwin Nunez and Brielle Mbolo, I do not have an update on either of them. I have sent a question out to my sources, and they may or may not have answers within this show. So if they have an answer within this show, I will let you know. There's also talk that Pedro Amador might be getting interest from the Israeli league. I think it was Hapoel Be'er-Sheva. And then the discussion of Latte Lot to Burnley is also on the table. And I think that the last one would have to happen before either of the first two would have to happen. You've got to have outbound and clearance before you could sit there and bring stuff in and get rid of. So in order, it would be Latte Lot being held out on precaution, but word came out from those that follow Burnley that they might be looking at him in the championship. He would go back. That would create a DP spot, and then that would also pursue the notion of either Darwin Nunez, who is making $25 million a year in Saudi, or Brielle Mbolo. Also, Herman Garcia Grova, $225 yesterday afternoon. River Plate is looking at Ezequiel Barco. He feels that he needs to leave Spartak Moscow for personal reasons and wants to go back to South America. Herman Garcia Grova said it's River Plate. Then he also said that Almada and Flamengo is moving along. Nothing final yet, but it's moving. 228, Moises Tablante is moving from Atlanta United 2 to the second division in Spain. That happened yesterday. 513, Hugo Kuipers officially to Rayados, according to Cesar Luis Merlo. So that $8 million that was rumored looks like it's being sent that way. And then at 10:30 last night, those that follow Real Betis in La Liga have Kevin Denke leaving from anywhere from 2.9 to 3.5 million euros. So FC Cincinnati, Kevin Denke to Cincy, Hugo Kuipers official to Rayados, Moises Tablante from the twos to the second division in Spain, Almada to Flamengo, keep an eye on that. Barco to River Plate from Spartak Moscow, keep an eye on that. The four players that were mentioned with Atlanta United, two of them inbound, two of them outbound, Nunez and Mbolo. It's going to be one of those if the conversations continue in that vein. Latte Lot being looked at possibly by Burnley in the EFL Championship, Pedro Amador to Israel. Sebastian Berhalter to Middlesbrough, Jack Harrison to New England Revolution. So that's the movement from yesterday that we think, at least anyway, that's the movement. So sold for a fee up to $8 million and clearing the DP slot for Lewandowski. 13 goals, 10 matches this year, 42 and 75. Inter Miami officially signed Casemiro, but then once again, we mentioned instantaneously that the league is investigating. They remain in contention, Messi and friends, for 4 trophies this year, including hosting Campeones in September. We mentioned Antoine Griezmann. That's where Dax McCarty is joining in, and Dax would be able to help us out in looking at the purple team and Griezmann. Toronto FC finalizing a $4.2 million deal for German defensive midfielder Nicholas Dorsch, who could debut on Saturday. And we mentioned the Revs and Jack Harrison. We mentioned Benji Flowers and Chelsea. We also had your PSA of don't do it. Dallas is going to get an initial $3 million, potentially rising to 10 with add-ons, according to Bogert. And then Vancouver, once again, Sebastian Berhalter finalizing the transfer to Middlesbrough. Let's see. San Diego FC. Their defensive fragility has cost them 8 goals after the 80th minute this season, 4 in stoppage time. Colorado tactical breakdown of their late winner. Center back Ian Murphy stepped up too high. Manu Dua failed to track the runner into vacated space, according to SDFC Nation. And Houston also conceded a soft equalizer that our friend KCD was with, and Christian Miles. And so that's your quick rundown of everything that is there. Other headlines before we get into juice boxes. Our friends at Footy Prime, James Sharman, caught up with Commissioner James Johnson of the Canadian Premier League. He is saying, Johnson, that they are going to have 4 expansion announcements in 27 and 28. Also, the Nations League draw came out, and all of the big guns are waiting for everything. They joined in the quarterfinals, but the draw is out yesterday. AFCON in 27 looks like it's going to be 24 teams. The NWSL with Jeff Kasoufi is saying that the Denver franchise will not have their stadium ready until 28. Basically the same thing with Boston, but stadium issues and construction issues probably mean that Denver won't have their stadium ready until 28. Also, Oakland Roots, according to Steven Tavares in USL Championship, they are behind in their rent payments at the Mausoleum, and they need to come up with $1.4 million today, or they are in default. They also announced a while back that they, meaning Roots, were going to not play in the Oakland Coliseum next year. They're going to try and come up with another solution. So they have until today to come up with $1.4 million. Defaulted on their lease agreement with the County Coliseum Joint Powers Authority, according to officials, and this is Steven Tavares at East Bay Insiders. Outstanding balance of $1.4 million, even as the team plans to depart after this year. Coliseum JPA Executive Director Henry Gardner confirmed the amount, adding the notice of default was sent to the club a week ago. Majority of the debt consists of unpaid game day expenses, including staffing, security guards, parking attendants, and stagehands, among other costs. $20,000 per game deposit for food and beverage sales is also outstanding. Roots have until the EOB today, end of business, to either pay the 1.4 or present the JPA with a viable repayment plan that can be evaluated before the deadline. Gardner said, quote, if neither of those options occurs, they'll be playing in the dark, end quote. Unpaid bills could have consequences for the club's future in Oakland. Animated Oakland Council member Ken Houston said this is not a good deal. Houston, who serves on the Board of Commissioners for the JPA of the Coliseum, questioned the viability of the club's move from a smaller venue to the Coliseum. Houston said, quote, they played the hustle, pay early and start slacking. They were ahead in their bills last year. At times they were paying well up front, but now they're $1.4 million in arrears, and they have to find an answer by the end of business today. So 8 o'clock Eastern time, they've got to come up with an idea. Club is working with the city of Alameda to build a temporary venue at their training facility, the former Raiders headquarters, trying to while pursuing a long-term home at Howard Terminal near Jack London Square. So that is your USL Championship for today. Okay, so Jurgen Klopp. I forgot to mention Jurgen Klopp. Goodness gracious. Pep Guardiola has backed out of Italy on family reasons. And so Jurgen Klopp said that he is taking over for the DFB. He is taking over as the major domo for Germany. This is the translator of the press conference. Press conference was in German. Question was in German to Jurgen Klopp. This is the translator with the answer of the question, basically, with Klopp discussing kind of his conditions for taking the gig.
If tomorrow Jurgen Klopp is, then I'll be gone. But if the DFB says that, come on, let us discontinue the job, then that's it. And if you behave badly and don't let my family in peace, I'll be gone. I'll just turn away. I mean, I know that there are other countries where national team head coaches are treated even worse, but I am always, I love this job, but I'm always ready to just call it quits if need be.
So Jurgen Klopp ain't taking no ish from nobody. Leave his family alone. He said he wants his team to, quote, change a country after being confirmed. Final job in top-level football, expressed regret about poking fun at his predecessor working as a pundit during the World Cup. 2 years after leaving Liverpool, when it was never say never, but I'm not interested in coaching again. He had an interview with Vicky Gomersall. That quote, that soundbite's floating around out there. 2 years after leaving Liverpool, worked as head of global soccer for Red Bull. As a part of him taking the gig, there's going to be, I believe, 3 matches in Leipzig involving the German national team. He said, quote, I want to create a situation where fans go home after the game and say, wow, that was cool. I want people to say, wow, it was worth putting the TV on for 90 minutes to see Germany play. I've lived and experienced how football can change a city, and I think it's not only about cities, it's also about the country. Ideally, football can change a country, end quote. Will run until after the 2030 World Cup, though he warned he would not tolerate invasive treatment from journalists and would be prepared to depart without compensation if he felt the family privacy had been violated. Criticized last month when speaking with Thomas Müller. Once again, he appeared to hint Nagelsmann's days were numbered, saying he was still picking a team. Quick apology after that. He said it was just a rash thing to say, no ulterior motive whatsoever, and I can only wish him the best. So Jurgen Klopp ain't taking no ish from nobody. Wolves, apparently, speaking of Premier League quickly, Wolves apparently are in deep doo-doo over their academy situation. They're risk at losing their top academy status amid concerns over facilities. It's from John Percy. John Percy at The Telegraph, facing the threat of having their Category 1 academy status revoked. Understand that Wolves will discover on Monday whether their license, the highest ranking for academy setups, is to be removed amid concerns over aspects of the club's facilities. Locked in discussions with the Professional Game Academy Audit Company and Men's Professional Game Committee in fighting against potential relegation to Category 2. They've held Category 1 status since 2012. Morgan Gibbs-White, Mateus Mane, Hugo Bueno. During the latest audit process, concerns were raised regarding parts of the club's academy facilities. These relate to infrastructure, classrooms, changing rooms, pitches, rather than the quality of coaching, education, sports science, medical provision, or player care. Wolves responded by unveiling a £10 million improvement project to drastically improve facilities, with the development due to be completed next summer. When doubts about the interim season were raised, club committed to £700,000 of immediate expenditure to meet regulations on dressing rooms and classroom space for the upcoming season. Final decision is set to be on Monday. The club's owner, FOS, inevitably will face renewed scrutiny if the academy is downgraded. They're already under fire, according to Percy, following relegation to the championship. Supporters angry over player sales and what they perceive as disjointed strategy and diminishing ambition. Wolves removed their unpopular chairman, Jeff Shee, replacing him with Nathan Shee, who's leading the commitment to the academy and improved supporter dialogue and lowered ticket prices. So we'll keep an eye on that. Chelsea looking to spend now over £200 million in the 5th summer in a row. Maxence Lacroix, that one seems to be up and running. And we'll keep an eye on the other gossip, rumor, and innuendo that is posted there. Now, getting into matchups and juice boxes. We'll tell you who is where and who is upstairs and who is not. We'll let you know who to pay attention to down on the field. And it's the same batch of folks that we saw in the midweek. We're seeing them on the weekend, just in different places. So, juice boxes. Red Bulls in Charlotte has been moved to 6:30 tomorrow, so 6:40. Red Bulls plus 120, draw plus 290. Charlotte is a plus 200. 7:15, which means 7:25. Hell is real. Crew minus 133. Draw a plus 340. FC Cincinnati a plus 300. Revs at 7:40 a plus 110 for Atlanta United, who's a plus 250. And it is a draw at a plus 265. Also at 7:40. CF Montreal hosting Messi and Friends at a plus 195. Messi and Friends a plus 114. Still no Rodrigo or Messi. Draw is a plus 309. NYCFC hosting Chicago Fire at a plus 135. Fire on the road a plus 179. Draw is a plus 275. DC United, Toronto FC. DC's a plus 106. Toronto a plus 2.5. Draws a plus 254. Purple team. This is where Dax McCarty is going to be, and I think that he might be paired with Evan Weston. Purple team is a plus 210 hosting Nashville at a plus 114. Draw is a plus 300. Philadelphia and Seattle. We talked to Nico Moreno about that one yesterday. Philadelphia is a plus 114 as the team at the bottom of the East. Seattle's a plus 220. Draws a plus 270. 840 kicks. Copa Tejas, Houston, hosting Austin at a minus 139. Austin a plus 350. Draw is a plus 300. St. Louis City, SC, with Christian and KCD. St. Louis City is a plus 104 hosting Colorado. Colorado's a plus 240. Draw is a plus 285. 840. Loons and Whitecaps. Loons a plus 265. Vancouver a minus 110. Draw is a plus 290. We'll have a note on the Whitecaps here in the show. 940. San Diego FC hosting FC Dallas at a plus 110. FCD is a plus 220. Draw is a plus 309. Late night, 1040s. LAFC hosting Sporting Kansas City at a minus 400. Draw is a plus 550. Sporting is a plus 900. Cali Classico, San Jose is a minus 118. LAG is a plus 275. No update on the availability of Furuhashi-san. Gabriel Pex suffered a nasty injury, broken fibula in a slide tackle challenge, barely on the field for a couple of matches down in South America for his new club. Draws a plus 330. Portland and Real Salt Lake. Portland is a plus 145. RSL is a plus 165. And your draw is a plus 290. So those are your numbers. Before Dax comes in, hydration break brought to us by our friends at local Vine Beer, Wine, and Liquor stores, 2 locations. And that is on Johns Creek and also in Cobb, corner of Cumberland and Cobb Parkway. And thanks to them for being great partners with us here at SDH. So everybody, hydrate. Yeah, we've done a lot of talking so far. It looks like there is a proposal on the floor. We were talking about Vancouver. And there is a proposal where BC Place could be sold to the Whitecaps. They could be sold to the Whitecaps. And they are considering it. Patrick Johnston at the province. Whitecaps still need a new owner. Then you saw the successes at BC Place. And so now, people are wondering about Hastings Park, Main and Terminal, Jericho Lands, Falls Creek. Ravi Kalan, BC's Minister for Jobs and Economic Growth, told Post Media, maybe lease, maybe purchase, about what the province has discussed with the Whitecaps about their future. Lease, manage, but outright buy. That's the new part of this whole thing. Kalan says that they're open to the conversation if the parameters are there. Obviously, it wouldn't be cheap. You're talking about upgrades and debt servicing and broader costs from hosting the 7 World Cup games. Kalan said he's confident the hotel tax enacted 2 years ago, which would stay in place until 2030, would go a long way toward recouping those costs. So, according to Johnston, the Whitecaps are interested in taking on a proper purchase. Clear the government's all ears. Quoting Kalan again, we've gone from butting heads to finding solutions. It's about having several options, he said, of what the government understands are the Whitecaps' needs, and offering long-term lease with management, outright sale, other arrangements all on the table. Kalan says they're going to have the same challenges and opportunities that we have. Maybe we can find a way that can help them when we see that detailed proposal. We look forward to it. Whitecaps finally broached the idea of running the stadium themselves, a deal which would see them take on the cost of the stadium in exchange for ultimate management ability and paying a share back to the government. So it's, clear it's not just, hey, we're going to let you buy the stadium off of us and not get anything in return. A lot of MLS teams not making profits, but that's an MLS problem. Kalan said, we want to keep the team here, be successful, and thrive. I want to see more kids from BC at the next World Cup. This team will play a big part in that. Asked about whether the possibility of the team being sold and moved to Vegas has been broached at all in the talks. Kalan said he'd not heard a peep about the idea since the option was first reported in late April. And Colin did admit last month the potential ownership group has yet to secure the land they'd need. So Garber said the group in Vegas remains on course, have a strong proposal, but he admitted last month, proposal has yet to secure the land they'd need to build the stadium. Rumor going around MLS circles that the Gustafsson group, who put themselves forward as MLS suitors, may now be focused on an expansion team. So that's from Patrick Johnston at Post Media in the province. So it looks like on the table, perhaps, possibly, probably, maybe, we're looking at the Whitecaps looking at the idea of purchase. So that's a thought. So we'll see what happens. All right, it is top of the hour. We've had our hydration break, and we're going to see if he is inside his Santa Fe. Voice of Dax McCarty. How are you, sir? I see Dax. I don't hear him.
Can you hear me all right?
There he is. There's Dax McCarty.
How we doing?
It's the voice of Dax McCarty. Are you in the Santa Fe, sir?
I am not in the Santa Fe. Why? Is it saying I am?
No, I could use that as the lower third font if I wanted to.
No. I'm currently out in Cape May, New Jersey, out and about, frolicking around.
Okay, well then we will not keep you. We will let you continue your frolic after a bit of hanging out with us.
Sure.
So this Griezmann dude did pretty well out there on the left coast in the midweek. What'd you think after seeing him out there going up against San Jose for Orlando?
Well, I thought it was a comprehensive performance from Orlando City, first and foremost. Certainly not something I expected. But look, he's won a World Cup. He's been one of the best attacking players in European soccer for the better part of a decade. He's never played less than 50 games in the last 10 years anywhere he's played, and that is including with the French national team, with Atletico Madrid or Barcelona. He is the pinnacle of availability, and he's flexible. He can play anywhere across the front line. He was a really well-taken goal against San Jose. I just think he makes Orlando City that much more dangerous, and if they can figure out their back line and stop conceding so many goals, which obviously very good start against San Jose, I think Orlando City is going to cause teams a ton of problems as we get towards playoff time.
So then let me ask you, what the hell was wrong with San Jose in that matchup?
Yeah, that was a weird one. That was they came really flat, and one of their big calling cards for the season under Bruce, they just kind of smothered you with their defensive pressure, their energy. They were really against Orlando City, and Orlando just read for the system that Martin Perlman, their interim manager, has them playing. It's really cool to pick up Griezmann and Justin Ellis and some of these different little pockets that they like to occupy. But in the final third, Preston barely had a stall. Timo Werner was pretty ineffective, and so I'm frustrated at the performance, but I'm not necessarily worried. Could just be a sign of a little bit of rust after the World Cup break.
How difficult are these midweek weekenders from your time as a player? What was it like playing 3 matches in 7 days, 3 matches in 8, 2 and 4? What is that like for an MLS athlete?
Well, when I was in my prime, I loved it. I was like, oh, great, we don't have to train as much, and we get to just play games. That was great for me. But you get a little bit older, and as the heat of the summer builds up, and as the grind of the season builds up, it gets difficult. And that's why you need to rely on great coaches. You need to rely on squad depth to be able to rotate minutes, to be able to manage minutes in a really good way. But it's not easy. And I think you see it during these Wednesday games where, teams would be playing their second or third game in a week. Mistakes are made. Defending sometimes is not always at the level. So I am, because there's more goals, there's more excitement in the final third. Attacking soccer is on display. But if you're a head coach, like if you're Pat Noonan and you're FC Cincinnati, you're probably I would love to be able to just win a game without conceding 3 goals, right? I mean, Cincinnati score their goals, their games are never boring. I'll just put it this way.
Yeah, and I'm sure that Pat Noonan might be trying to find as much shooty delight as he possibly can as he's leaving the field after matches that he's been seeing recently. I did not have Cincinnati and Vancouver putting 7 on the board to start things off in the midweek. That was an unanticipated result.
Yeah, I mean, look, Vancouver has been one of the best defensive teams in Major League Soccer for the better part of 18 months now, since Jesper Sorensen started. So I was shocked.
Mhm.
You know, credit to Bradley Wright Phillips, my colleague on MLS 360. They asked Kevin Egan asked before the show started, right before the games kicked off. He said, "Which game do you expect to be the highest scoring?" And Brad said, "Cincinnati."
Really? I did not have that on the bingo card at all. That one is a 7-goal thriller. I did not have that one on the board. Dax is in between cells in Cape May, New Jersey, and he is.
John, are you
There
able to
he
hear
is.
me?
I am now. You changed cells
Sorry.
on me.
Sorry, yeah, I don't know what's going on. I'm floating in and out of service, but that's all right. It was a great game. It was an exciting game. If you're a neutral, you love to watch it. But yeah, I think if you're Jesper Sorensen, you don't love the fact that your team conceded 4 goals.
No, and you're also on the verge of losing Sebastian Berhalter to Middlesbrough, and all of the transfer chaos has already started. Ugo Kuipers, Lewandowski in. Kuipers is like, tell you what, you can have my number. I'm out the door. Berhalter heading to Middlesbrough. Atlanta United being linked to ins and outs. It is chaos with a capital K, sir, now that the secondary transfer window is open.
It is, but teams are making moves. Teams want to, I think, take advantage of this post World Cup bump. I think Robert Lewandowski is going to be a fantastic signing. You made the signing, and you had Kuipers in the process. That's a big loss. And I'm disappointed that a different MLS team couldn't step in and keep Hugo Kuipers in Major League Soccer. I think he's a wonderful striker, one of the best in the league. But, you know, he's probably going to get a nice little raise going down, playing in Liga MX at Monterrey. But he was the epitome of class. And Lewandowski's going to score a ton of goals in Major League Soccer, but it's also kind of what Kuipers gave you defensively. He was such a workhorse up there. He was kind of the catalyst for when they started their high pressing. He was just a fantastic teammate, a great leader. So Robert Lewandowski is going to have a lot of success in Major League Soccer. I have no doubts about that. But he's got some big shoes to fill. As you know, and I think with Atlanta United, I'm excited about some of the strikers that they have been linked to, specifically Darwin Nunez. I couldn't believe that he was only 27 years old still. Feels like he's been around for 20 years, but he is still young. It hasn't gone quite the way that people expected from him, I think, in the Saudi Pro League, but I still think he's got a ton of quality. I think he would be an excellent addition for Atlanta United and kind of help them with their goal-scoring woes that they've had this year.
Indeed. One other question, and then I will let you continue your frolicking there in Cape May. Since you have the purple team and they're taking on Nashville, Nashville, a benefactor of Fall Down Go Boom with Sam Surridge in the midweek. Nashville, they're adding pieces as well. What do you think about Nashville and the purple team coming up here on the weekend?
Well, I'm extremely excited because I get to call that game. That's the game I have tomorrow. And I think it's a really, really tricky matchup for Nashville. I look at Orlando's performance against San Jose and I think, all right, excellent performance, great result. You get your new designated player integrated in. He plays 90 minutes, scores a goal. Orlando's going to have a ton of confidence. Nashville, top of the Supporter Shield standings, back-to-back 1-0 victories coming out of the World Cup break. They haven't looked all that great. I have not been impressed with Nashville SC and the performances that I've seen from them in their last 2 games against CF Montreal and against Atlanta United. They haven't looked like that dominant force we saw early in the season, but the sign of a really good team, John, is if you can play poorly and still win. So that is the sign of a great team. I think Nashville is a great team. They're on top of the Supporter Shield standings for a reason. I think that Orlando City backline is going to have their hands full dealing with Hani Mukhtar and dealing with Sam Surridge. But I think that Orlando City, with the form that they're in and the confidence that they should get from San Jose, and especially them being at home, I think they're going to give Nashville a really difficult game. I would not be shocked at all if Orlando City took 3 points from that game.
Who's your dance partner in this one? Is it Evan?
Evan Weston, the legend.
So it is the legend Evan Weston and the voice of Dax McCarty. Continue frolicking in Cape May, New Jersey, sir. I can't thank you enough for hopping on. And
of course.
May they not charge you an arm and a leg to get you your favorite tchotchke while you're there getting lunch and bring it down to Evan for his house.
I appreciate it, John. Thanks for having me, as always.
Anytime. There goes Dax McCarty. He's going to go back to frolicking in Cape May, New Jersey. That was cool. That was very nice of Dax to come in and be a party to the party here on a Friday. So, yeah, Dax is like, it's like, yeah, I can give the guy 10 minutes. So we thank Kirk Reynolds and we thank Dax especially for voice of Dax McCarty here on Friday here on SDH AM. So very, very cool stuff there from Dax. All right, let's get you into who's where, because it is a bit of a reffing down here, and we're going to continue to find out what is going on with who is where and who's doing what. So here's the skinny of all of the matches that we have going on. Red Bulls in Charlotte, once again, that one is a 6:30 or 6:40 or 6:55 start. Rosendo Mendoza is the man in the middle. Chris Wadham, Mike Nickerson, your ARs. Edson Carvajal is your fourth. Kevin Stott and Jeff Mushik are upstairs. Hell is real. Alan Chapman is the man in the middle. Andrew Bigelow, Jeff Schwartzel, your ARs. Chris Penso is your fourth. Carol Ann Chenard and Robert Schapp are upstairs. We mentioned DC United, Toronto FC. Sergi Boyko is the man in the middle. Let's see if he calls more than 12 fouls. Corey Parker, Brian Dunn, your ARs. Elton Garcia is your fourth. Lucas Zapala, Jonathan Johnson are upstairs. CF Montreal and Messi and friends. There will be no Messi. There will be less friends. No Rodrigo de Paul. But when you've got Preston Plambeck, anything is possible. And El Pistolero. Alexis De Silva is the man in the middle. Michael Barwagon is your AR. Liaz Arfa is also the other AR. Carly Shaw McLaren is your fourth. Eunice Marakchi and Tom Supple are upstairs. Revs and Atlanta United. And we will go over this crew. Pierre-Luc Lozier is the man in the middle. Ryan Graves, Justin Howard, your ARs. Alejo Kalume, who was the man in the middle for Atlanta United and Huntsville City last weekend, is your fourth. David Berry and Joshua Patlak are upstairs. NYCFC and Chicago. It is at Yankee Stadium. Ricardo Montero is the man in the middle. Matthew Nelson, Walt Heatherly, your ARs. Marcus de Oliveira is your fourth. Kevin Terry Jr. and TJ Zablocki are upstairs. For Dax and Evan, it is Remy Tuchon in the middle. Eric Weisbrod, Megan Mullen, your ARs. Carlos Rodriguez is your fourth. Daniel Radford, Kevin Hewitt are upstairs. And Kevin will have just come off of knee surgery. So we hope that he is given a chair for elevation or whatever he needs to make sure that his knee is in good shape, because I imagine that thing is either going to be wrapped or he's going to have the full thing, from ankle to groin. I don't know if he's supposed to keep the leg static or if he's able to flex it or what. But our man Kevin Hewitt from Kennesaw State is the AVAR for the Purple team and Nashville. Philadelphia, Seattle. Timothy Ford's the man in the middle for Philadelphia and Seattle. So expect either a lot of fouls or not a lot of fouls and a lot of physicality. Adam Winkowski, Ben Pilgrim, your ARs. Sergei Demyanchuk is your fourth. Sergei Demyanchuk really needs to be the man in the middle for a match like this. Jose Carlos Rivero, Claudio Badea are upstairs. Margaret Fleming from Office Sports set to join us in 15 minutes. Copa Tejas, Houston and Austin from Hell in a Shell. Philip Dujic is the man in the middle. Logan Brown, Nick Balser, your ARs. Benjamin Meyer is your fourth. Edvin Jurasevich and Fabio Tovar are upstairs. Loons in Vancouver. Lorenzo Hernandez is man in the middle. Felicia Mariscal, Oscar Mitchell Carvalho, your ARs. Jacqueline Metz is your fourth. Sean Tahini and Craig Lowry are upstairs. St. Louis City, Colorado Rapids. Nabil Ben Salah is the man in the middle. Adam Garner, Diego Blas, your ARs. Fotis Bazakas is your fourth. Izmir Pekmich and John Krill are upstairs. San Diego FC, and FC Dallas from the Murph Dragon at 9:40. Victor Rivas is the man in the middle. Jeffrey Greason, Red Hamill, your ARs. Malik Badawi is your fourth. Kevin Stott and Jeff Mushik are upstairs. So they flip. Interesting. Carol Ann Chenard, though, is doing the daily double. She's got LAFC and Sporting Kansas City upstairs with Robert Schapp. Ricardo Fierro is the man in the middle. Corey Richardson and Eduardo Jeff are your ARs. Trevor Wiseman is your fourth. Timbers and RSL, Eligio Adeguin is the man in the middle. Cameron Blanchard, Chris Elliott, your ARs. Brandon Stevis is your fourth. Lucas Zapala, TJ Zablocki are upstairs. San Jose and LAG for Cali Classico. Armando Villarreal is the man in the middle. Brooke Mayo and Stefan Tanaka-Freund, your ARs. Jair Marufo is your fourth. Eunice Morakchi and Tom Supple are upstairs. Now, since we mentioned the crew for this match, Pierre-Luc Lozier is now going under the magnifying glass. And what are we going to be talking about with Pierre-Luc Lozier? We are going to our friends at Who Scored, and we are going to look at referee stats this season for Pierre-Luc Lozier. And statistics, team statistics, I don't want those. I want ref statistics. So where are my ref statistics? So that's all I want. I just want my ref stats. That's all I want. I don't want player stats. I don't want statistical best 11s. I want my ref stats. So where are my ref stats at Who Scored? So Who Scored and MLS referees. Okay, so let's see what happens here. Okay, now, as it always does, it takes us back to 2023, which we don't want. But what we do want is how to make sure we see what we're seeing. Now, ref stats. We click. No, I don't want to do it with Acrobat. No. It's like, why? No, I don't know. I don't want it. Pop-up window for Acrobat. I don't care. I don't want it. No, I seriously don't want it. Oh, it was no, that's why it gave me another window. Okay. So, now, ref stats, nothing like pop-up windows. Now, we are looking for Pierre-Luc Lozier. Fouls per match, once again, with 33 individuals, up from 32. 33 individuals that have called matches this year. Pierre-Luc Lozier is 25th. And legitimately, I mean, he's been in that group that has called a decent amount of matches. If you go with double figures, he would be between, so 6 from there is 33, 32, 31, 30. So he would be 27th in regularly scheduled officials. Sergi Boyko, by the way, after his 12 foul performance that was called in the midweek or wasn't called in the midweek, he is now 31st in fouls called per match. And still, he is 2 north of Alan Chapman. With a 12 foul performance, Sergi Boyko has called 19.88 fouls in the matches that he's been in the middle. Alan Chapman has still only called 17.5 fouls in the matches that he's called this season on average. But Pierre-Luc Lozier technically is 25th. He has called 10 matches. He's averaged 23.9 fouls called. So 10 matches, 23.9 fouls called on average per match. Fouls per tackle, he is actually on page 2, toward the bottom of it. You know, actually, he's right in the middle. Okay, so fouls called per tackle is 0.83. It puts him right in the middle of the stack at 0.83. Penalties, he has called 2 in 10 matches. Yellows per match, he is on the second half of the page. He's on page 2. He is 26th in yellows per match at 3.7. He is still above Rosendo Mendoza, Sergi Boyko, Alan Chapman, Nabil Ben Salah, Marcus de Oliveira, Brandon Stevis, and Jair Marufo. So, Pierre-Luc Lozier, 26th of 33 in yellows per match. He has 37 yellows in 10 matches. He has not given a red card this year, but he has given 2 penalties. So, keep an eye out for that. So, no reds, 2 pens. Doesn't really give a whole lot of yellows per match. Doesn't really call a whole lot of fouls per match. So 25th, but, if you want to be, normal about it, say 30th toward the bottom in, 27th, 28th, 27th, 28th. So his fouls per game average is 25th out of 33. Realistically, he's probably 25th out of 31 if you call regularly scheduled center refs. Ahead of Demjanchuk, ahead of Joe Dickerson, ahead of Rubiel Vasquez, Jair Marufo, Sergi Boyko, Torrey Penson, Alan Chapman. So that's what you're getting into in fouls per game average with Pierre-Luc Lauzière. That's what you're getting into. That range. Just under 24 fouls, 3.7 yellows per match, no penalties, or no reds, 2 penalties. So that's what you get from Pierre-Luc Lauzière and that crew. So that's your reffing breakdown, courtesy of our friends at Who Scored. And once again, everything is going on Saturday. The matchups, the New York and Charlotte match legitimately is just an AppleTV match. So it is an early kick. I imagine they're trying to tap dance around the weather. Apple FS1 Fox Deportes as Hell is Real at 7:25. And then they come back at 9:50 with San Diego FC hosting Dallas. So that's why the one at the Murph Dragon is at 9:30 as opposed to 10:30 out west, is because it's the other FS1 Fox Apple crossover game. So that's where that one is. Okay. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Let's get you into that. And we will see what else is going on. So Nations League draw was yesterday. Once again, the big guns don't join it until the quarterfinals. We mentioned Roots. We mentioned all of the issues going on. We mentioned who's on the block and who might be moving. And let's see. We mentioned Nicholas Otamendi has also retired from international duty. Not necessarily a surprise, but it did officially happen. So very, very cool. Thanks to Otamendi for his career and everything that he has meant to Argentina. And so that's a rundown there. Okay. Now, getting into other headlines, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Apparently, Pep has said he's going to take the year off. Enzo Maresca was asked about succeeding Pep Guardiola at Manchester City. The word that was referred to was it is a privilege. Real Madrid obviously is still interested in Rodri as we go. So now, transfer talk. Getting into all this discussion, trending rumors. Arsenal have agreed to personal terms with Bruno Guimaraes, preparing an official bid according to Fabrizio Romano. Set to offer around £70 million. Newcastle expected to reject the initial proposal as they remain reluctant to lose one of their key players. Arsenal believe a deal still can be negotiated. United have made an inquiry over a move for Real Madrid midfielder Aurelien Tchouameni, according to the three-letter paper. Jose Mourinho wants to sanction a departure if it helps finance a move for Rodri, according to sources telling the four-letter network that. Spain captain is still a Bernabeu target. They're also United is also in the market for a defensive midfielder following Casemiro's exit and Ugarte's long-term injury. Tchouameni is viewed as an ideal fit. Chelsea, hey, guess what? They're a favorite to sign somebody. This time it's Karim Alabegovic from Bayer Leverkusen, according to the Telegraph. Other clubs are interested, like Juve and Fiorentina. Xabi Alonso is enthusiastic to sign the 18-year-old. 13 goals, 44 matches for RB Salzburg last summer, returned to Leverkusen under contract until June of 31. But what he did in the World Cup is drawing a lot of eyes. Arsenal weighing up moves for John Stones and Ezri Konsa after William Saliba was ruled out for an extended period because of his back injury, according to Sky. Premier League champs assessing both England internationals. Free agent Stones is viewed as cost-effective short-term. Villa's defender Konsa admired for his versatility. It would be significantly more difficult to complete. Dortmund have lodged an opening offer for Cologne winger Said El-Mallah, according to Sky Germany. Structure of the bid was a fixed fee of €26 million, further €16 million in achievable bonuses and add-ons. Fell well short of Cologne's €50 million asking price, and so that meant that Dortmund's bid was rejected. Al-Mallah, who is 19, is open to the idea of a move. Nottingham Forest are monitoring Zimbabwean winger Tadiwa Chakuchichi, the youngest player at AFCON, according to the four-letter. Chakuchichi previously went on trial at RB Salzburg, Neither Forest nor Salzburg can bring him in from Zimbabwe's Scotland with 2 T's until he turns 18 until June 1st of 27. Barcelona signed Karim Adeyemi. He was already at practice this morning. From Dortmund, sources tell the four-letter it's 22 million euros with another 7 in add-on, so 25 million plus 8 in U.S. dollars. Build. Real Madrid, Manchester City willing to enter the race for RB Leipzig winger Jan Diomande. Agreed to a contract with PSG. No official offer lodged by the club. Future remains open. Fabrizio Romano, Inter Milan have held initial talks with Spurs over Cuti Romero. Sky, Brighton's Carlos Baleba and Roma's Manu Kone remain on United's wish list. Kone viewed as more of a realistic option in the summer. Chelsea have agreed to sign Benji Flowers. We talked about that one yesterday. 3 with as much to 10 when it comes to performance-based incentives. Villa could swoop in for James Garner from Everton. Villa expected to step up their interest after all the squad changes. That's from Football Insider. Dyson Maeda set to arrive in Suffolk ahead of his £10 million pound move to Ipswich Town. That's from Sky. Liverpool youngster Amara Nalo set to join HJK Helsinki on a season-long loan. That's from David Ornstein at The Athletic. Daily Record. Celtic on the verge of completing a €4 million transfer of Paderborn midfielder Mika Bauer. Sky Germany, former Manchester City keeper Stefan Ortega is in talks with several clubs, including Olympiacos. Foot Mercato. Juve striker Luis Openda has greenlit a move to Lyon following discussions between the two clubs. Nicolo Shira, Watford, and Australia winger Nestori Irankunda getting closer to joining Sporting in a €22 million deal. Crystal Palace and Vets talks to sign Augsburg center back Chrislane Matisma. That's from our buddy Ben Jacobs. And speaking of Ben, who's been busy as ish this morning. So here's Ben's rundown of what has gone on. And there's been a lot. There's been a lot that's gone on this morning with Ben. Sekou Kone has joined Lausanne Sport for Manchester United on a season-long loan. Idrissa Gueye set to sign for Saudi side Al Diriyah on an initial one-season deal, according to Foot Mercato, at the age of 36. And I've rolled back into my chair. Court of Arbitration for Sport has scheduled a hearing to decide on who won the 2025 AFCON title. It'll take place October the 8th between the Senegalese Football Federation and CAF and the Royal Moroccan Football Federation. Hydrating. Appeal seeks to overturn a CAF decision declaring that Senegal's national team forfeited the AFCON title and thus awarding it to Morocco. Parties did not agree to expedite the procedure, which is therefore following a standard timeline according to CAF's procedural rules. The hearing will take place behind closed doors, although I would imagine that you probably will be able to hear plenty of it if you're standing out in the hall. After the hearing, a CAF panel will start its deliberations. Good Lord. Just when you thought it was over. Nope. Not happening. The AFCON title is going to CAF. Lord help us all. Enzo Maresca on following Pep Guardiola. Quote, I consider Pep probably the best coach in the world the last 20 or 25 years, and it's a challenge and a privilege to succeed him. If you look at the history of managers at the same club for many years, after they leave, they always struggle a bit. It happened after Sir Alex and Arsene, but it's a challenge to do the right things immediately for this organization and the fans. I think the organization is the main thing. Club has had 3 managers in 17 years. This is not normal. This has not happened often. This is one of the reasons I'm confident we can do a great job and continue to do the job of the last 14 to 15 years since Roberto was here, then Manuel, and then Pep for 10. Maresca's obviously on Rodri. Every manager wants to have a Rodri because he's a top player. I'm just going to use that sentence because basically, Enzo Maresca, we'd love to have him, but you can't sit there and go, well, we want him. You can't do that. Watford confirmed Spain U21 international forward Iker Bravo is joined from Udinese on a 3-year deal. Decision down to family rather than financial reasons for Pep Guardiola. Spurs center back Alfie Dorrington's move to Pogoncezin is off. Had a change of heart, wants to find a club ideally in England. And they'd agreed in principle for a permanent transfer. The terms for the 21-year-old had yet to be finalized, but now Dorrington's like, buyer's remorse. Manchester United women's signkeeper Janina Leitzig from Leicester City on a 3-year deal. And she is smiling with pen in hand, hovering over a plastic-bound notebook. It's not a contract. It's a plastic-bound notebook that has Manchester United's crest on it, and she's not signing it. So she's smiling to the camera. The pen is hovering over not a contract, but a plastic-bound notebook. I think that's the first time we've seen one of those contract signings that you just kind of like. Let me bring in Margaret here. So I'm gonna bring Margaret in to discuss this. So yes, we believe in hydration, and hydration breaks Margaret. This is how we work. That's perfectly fine. I was going through the signings of the morning and who's going where and who's doing what. And there are there's a certain number of ways that teams overseas, they promote the signing of a new player. It's like the holding up of the jersey. If it's the contract renewal, it's like the holding up of the jersey and it's got the name and the contract year. It's like, I don't know. Can I get a Desiree Douay 2030 jersey, one of those kind of things. It says Douay in 2030, and he's holding it up with obviously somebody from the front office. Then there's the one where you're hovering over the contract, and you got the smile on your face. You're like this, and the pen isn't touching the contract, but the pen is hovering over the contract, and you're smiling into the camera. There's that one. This morning, Manchester United gave us a new one, where player is smiling at the camera, 45-degree angle. So it's, it's like one of these, and you're turned. And the player is hovering over a plastic-bound notebook instead of a contract. It's like one of those. First time I've seen one of those. We don't get those here in the U.S. We get the smile or the jersey or something that's workout photo or something like that. We don't get those posed moments for the future. We don't get those here.
No, sometimes they'll do the videos. Like, I know the Chiefs with both Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes made a little video of them like coming into what looks like a studio setup and signing, and you got them flipping pages and signing. But yeah, you usually don't get the showing off their document.
We don't get the pose. We don't.
I feel like that has sensitive information. You don't need to. Why are we putting that on the internet?
You're signing. We know you're signing. It's okay. It's one of those things. Have you officially recovered from the cup that the world has been chasing?
No, I have not.
Not a shock. So we saw each other as like, comet and planet, passing in the ionosphere when you were here for the semifinal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How many different venues did you get to?
I went to 9.
Okay, name them.
I went to everything in the U.S. except for Dallas and San Francisco.
Okay.
So
that's
easy. I can name all 9, but that sums it up pretty easily.
You're like, yeah, okay, I'll 11 and go backward. That's easy. What in each of these venues, do you remember the matches? Do you have the matches handy that you attended in those venues?
Yes. I saw the U.S. opener versus Paraguay in Los Angeles.
Okay.
I saw Messi's hat trick in Kansas City.
Okay.
I saw in Houston the Netherlands versus Sweden, so I got to see the Netherlands fan march, which was fun. Mm-hmm. Came back to New York, which is where I live. I saw Senegal versus Norway. Okay. In New Jersey. Bopped down to Philly for Ivory Coast Curacao. Great time there. Got a World Cup flu, missed England, Panama, but that's okay. We survived. Went up to Boston for Paraguay knocking out Germany, that was pretty great. Came back down to New York for France against Sweden, and then down to Philly for the July 4th game, which was France beating Paraguay in 100-degree heat.
Uh-huh.
Took a plane out to Seattle for the U.S. Match against Belgium, and that was, wonderful until it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Came back to New York, still couldn't believe I wasn't in Los Angeles, but I came back to New York, went down to Miami for the quarterfinal, England versus Argentina, which was nuts.
Mhm.
Then Atlanta for the semi.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, no. England, Norway in Miami, which was nuts. England, Argentina in Atlanta. Sorry, the
That's why I was asking. Do you remember which ones you got?
And yeah, so that was Norway got knocked out in Miami. England got knocked out in Atlanta, and then made it up to the final.
So 11, and then the final in the Meadowlands.
That was 12. Yeah, I did 12 matches.
So all right. So going back to the final, we'll work backward here a little bit.
Okay.
When did you show up at the Meadowlands to get in the door?
I showed up, I think a little bit before noon. I was supposed to take I woke up and saw there were already videos of the line outside of MetLife, and I thought, oh shoot.
I think you might have said something else, but that's okay.
No, I was nervous. And so then I was going to take the media shuttle, show up to the media shuttle. There was one seat left. Some guy was outside begging for it, so he took it. So I was going to take the next one, and they said the air conditioner's not working, and the driver said, it's okay, we can go. And the FIFA people were like, absolutely not. We're not putting a bunch of journalists on a hot bus for 45 minutes. The stories that would be written. So I said, I'm going to call it and take New Jersey Transit. That takes about an hour. And I think I got there a little bit before noon. The line took me maybe an hour and 15 minutes.
Okay.
I wrote a whole story about the line while I was in line, so that made it go by a lot faster because I was just typing on my phone. So yeah, but the line, I mean, people were out there at 8. There's a journalist that I really admire from the Miami Herald.
Yeah.
Chuck Hoffman. She posted 8 a.m. and didn't get in until after 11. I think like 11:30. Yeah. Just really bad. Because there was some mix of the, there are all these performers and there's all these volunteers and there's more media than any other match. Like there's like all these people, but then it was also security was being handled by TSA and the Secret Service. And they went through my bag, like hand checked my bag. I think that was honestly just because they didn't have enough machines. But, every other city it's being done by like whoever, security is hired. But since Trump was there, it was
the local gendarme and all of the other places.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you look back at this final, Jason and Madison and I, we had our postmortem with all of this, and it was about as much of a masterclass. There were a lot of folks that might have been looking at it for the first time, and they were wondering, where are all the goals? This isn't all that exciting. And I was like, well, wait a second. No, this is incredibly exciting because of you have this defense from Luis de la Fuente that has been locking everybody down, and to see them completely and totally lock down Argentina over a full 90 plus and then continue to have to do so for another 30, it was a masterclass that I think a lot of folks hopefully came around to respect what Luis de la Fuente has built there with Spain over the last decade, going through all the different age groups.
I thought it was remarkably exciting. Like all these people kept coming up to me. They were like, "Oh, I'm sorry, it was such a boring game." Like, in the next couple of days, and I was like, "It was. What are you? Did we watch the same?" I mean, I get it. I was there. I had a privileged position of being there and in it. But like, you just had this feeling of like Spain was just right there the whole time, and Argentina's goalkeeper, talk about a masterclass. I mean, he was just going bananas out there, and there was this feeling of like, especially because I had seen Argentina do it, in Atlanta. You've seen them do it against Switzerland and Cape Verde, like that they just have these like some kind of dark magic with this come from behind like win that they are able to produce over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. And you were like, sorry, a bird just landed on my window. That freaked me out.
You get a live studio audience. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, exactly. He has thoughts about the match.
Uh-huh.
You kind of felt like, oh, it is Argentina, like watching it and watching what Spain was doing and how close they were over and over and over again. You were like, they have been the better side for sure. And you were just kind of nervous the whole time that Argentina was going to find a way, that they keep finding a way, and that Spain was going to have this as you said, masterclass of a game, but then still fall to some like crazy, Argentina's going to find some goal and that's going to, and you just, not nervous, whatever. But that was the dynamic of like that I felt when I was watching it, of just seeing like what is going to happen. And that just extended for so long. I think a lot of the matches that I went to, I mean, I'm there to work. I'm working. I'm writing. I'm not really like, I'm plugged in and aware of what's going on, but I don't really get to watch too much necessarily. Like I'm watching, but I'm working. And this one, you couldn't really write, like, because I'm writing about the business side and stuff. I'm not doing every single touch and every single goal every single touch in my articles. And there wasn't goals to write about. There wasn't, like I would write sentences about like kind of the momentum, but it was like I had to just sit there and watch and let it unfold. And so that was exciting for me because I probably got to watch more of the final than any other game of the tournament. So I enjoyed that a lot.
And I mean, when you look at all of the different venues and cities that you were able to look at that were host cities here, it was, I guess, when you look at how they were hosted, what was your feedback on each of these individual markets and how they hosted and embraced not just the matches themselves, but the World Cup experience and how the cities reacted in all of this?
It was like wildly different. And also sometimes I would be like in the thick of it in a way that like, in my neighborhood in New York, I'm not in the thick of it. So it's like completely a different experience where I was staying or what I was doing. Like, Kansas City and Houston and Seattle and Philadelphia and Atlanta, those felt like complete takeovers in a way that I didn't really get that in Boston and New York and LA. But then again, that could have just been where I was staying and what I was doing.
Well, I mean, with Boston, it was difficult because you're in Foxborough, which is detached from the entire process.
Yeah.
And you're trying to sit there and say that it's a Boston thing when it's halfway between Providence and Boston, and it's just kind of, I
mean, a lot of cities, Atlanta's lucky. Like a lot of cities, I was on the bus for an hour or more either direction, like Kansas City and Miami, either just because there's not really a ton of public transit or you can't walk or the traffic was just so bad, or it's, like Foxborough, just so far away. Same as Miami, same as Dallas, like, the cities where the stadium is in the city, like Atlanta, Philadelphia, Seattle, it makes a huge difference. I mean, I probably didn't have a better atmosphere. I don't, there's so many amazing atmospheres, but like, an unbelievable one was walking to the stadium in Seattle for that US-Belgium game. Like, it was this gorgeous, gorgeous summer afternoon, and you have everybody out in red, white, and blue, and there's bars and restaurants and parks and beer gardens and the waterfront, and the fans are singing and dancing, and they're going to do a march, and you're walking past all these people, and they're all in like their stars and stripes, and there's food trucks and vendors and all stuff. And it was just like, you don't get that when you're taking the Uber for I didn't Uber, like if fans are taking the Uber for an hour, if I'm taking the bus for an hour, like it's a completely different atmosphere, and each has their, pros and cons and all that. Will Seattle get to ever host a Final Four in that stadium? No, because they do the dome stadiums, like there's pros and cons to that thing. But, I was quite impressed with the in-city stadiums.
When you look at legacies, I guess, and economic legacies and all of this, how much reporting has been done there at FOS about the demands of FIFA and the war and peace version of contracts that have to be approved? And hey, you got to take care of this, and this. When you look at the legacies and financial legacies and what was left behind, what's been the analysis up there at FOS about what's been left behind by FIFA and how these cities are going to build with what they've created out of this?
I think economic impact is like such a weird concept because a lot of times these numbers are just kind of not super concrete or based in things. They kind of just flaunt this number before about how much it'll do for the city, and it's like, what is that? What is that? What does that mean? What does that look like? And a lot of times when cities host these major events, regardless of what they are, like that number is not necessarily even met or looked at. I think, we'll see over the coming, weeks and months what exactly, the impact is for, the tax revenue and for the hotels and for, public transit and for what these kind of things have been. But I think in some ways it's like this is a longer tail legacy that we're not really going to be able to measure immediately, because there is that immediate, but it's also like, Kansas City, great example. Like there have been a lot of people that came to Kansas City that had probably never been there before, including myself. I'd never been there and thought it was great. And like, do they get more major events? Do they get more visitors now? Do they get, like, what does this do for their tourism, for their place on the global scale? I know they in particular had like a business house kind of that they would like have people in. So like when I was there, they had like a big like business of agriculture kind of thing, and like had people from Argentina there, and like the ambassadors and stuff. And it's like, that's a local thing that they have there. And it's like, okay, what is the impact of that long term, decades down the road? Like could be nothing, could be something. You just like things like that you don't really know. So I think that's kind of the longer tail. I think in the like short immediate, I guess, in like the next little bit, I'll be curious to see how for like this 2031 tournament that seems to be floated around for future Club World Cups, or if there's a 2038, like what that looks like for host cities. Like, Boston really struggled with fundraising for their host committee. Like, do they come in and have different parts of their deal, want different parts of their deal than other people? Like how do cities and how do states and host regions switch up those host agreements with FIFA? Because FIFA has a history of coming in and just getting everything they want, and the US cities certainly pushed back. But I think it'll be quite interesting to me to see what like the learnings are after 26 for 31 or other tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, because Chicago basically said nah.
Yeah, Chicago said we're good.
Nah, Rahm Emanuel looked at FIFA and was just like, nah, we're good. I mean, you got the idea of Copa America, Club World Cup in 29. So it would be, I think, Copa America in 28, along with an Olympic year. You've got 29 would be Club World Cup. They're thinking of bringing it back to the U.S. Then you'd have 31, which would be the Women's World Cup. And then 38 possibly returning for the World Cup on the men's side. So there will not be a shortage of soccer events that would be big ticket items possibly returning to the United States. What has it been like for you covering where soccer is right now in the United States footprint, whether we're talking about a World Cup, the league in and of itself with Major League Soccer, switching over to the rest of the world calendar? So MLS is going to go metric after the sprint schedule in 27 and be lined up with everything else. What's it like for you at FOS covering all of these things, and what do you have to be mindful of on almost a daily basis now when it comes to covering all these leagues and what's going on?
Yeah, in truth, I have done minimal of that because I'm still in World Cup mode this week. But I had a colleague of mine, Griffin Senek. He did a story about he reached out to MLS clubs, and a few of them are having ticket sales up. Obviously, United has a completely different model than everybody else.
And United, what United also did was they did an invite a friend thing, and that they ran out of the promotion. It was so well received. Trying to bring folks in the door. It's like, well, shoot, we've run out of the tickets for this promotion. So
United doesn't really have the same problems as other clubs when it comes to attendance. But yeah, I think Philly was up like 200 something percent. There was another one that was up 100 something percent. I'm forgetting which club right now. But some are seeing better attendance, which is great. I think it'll be very interesting to see I mean, we saw like the Premier League yesterday was rolling out these like watch parties, and somebody was texting me about their teams in New York and whatever, trying to market. I think it'll be really interesting to see like coming out of the World Cup. I think there'll be some of both, but like, does this make somebody want to go see their local team, men's, women's, college, whatever it is, or does this, oh my gosh, I love Erling Haaland, I love Jude Bellingham, I love these stars that you kind of latched onto during the tournament. You buy Manchester City and Real Madrid jerseys, and you're waking up early for those games, and that's where your soccer fandom lives. And I think both are totally possible, but I think there's going to be a huge boost for Europe. That there already is so much momentum with that. Like watching European leagues in the US.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I think we'll just kind of have to see how things go. I mean, I know MLS got absolutely roasted for the video of like the own goal. I'm sure you saw this, where I think it was like a Miami game, the own goal, and everyone's like, yeah, we'll take it from here. Okay. It's, there are going to be moments like that, of course, that come up and happen. But yeah, it's tough. You don't want to like jump, we are not PR, we're going to be honest about what's happening, and we're not going to be like, MLS is taking it from here, everybody. Like, like you have to be balanced with that kind of stuff. I think there's huge opportunity for both, NWSL and MLS now that people are really locked in on this. I mean, I think this really proves that people are excited about soccer. At the same time, are people just excited about the World Cup, or are they excited about soccer? And that's up to the leagues to try to turn that over. And I don't think that necessarily happens overnight. Mm-hmm. But I think there will be a bump from this that we'll be able to tell years down the road. And I guess we'll just see how big of a bump it is.
Yeah. And I mean, for Major League Soccer, I can understand not wanting to buy space on a network that really doesn't carry a whole lot of your games, and it's not your primary provider in some aspects. And so I can understand why you wouldn't want to go down that road in the tournament. And then because also the ad rates, I'm sure, by comparison, were probably Super Bowl-ish ad rates, when you're trying to buy those kinds of ads. So I understand trepidation perhaps on MLS's guidebook as to, do we want to spend all of that money, or can we redirect it in other places? So I kind of get where they were coming from there, and now they're going to take it from here because they've told us so. I think it's an interesting dichotomy that we have, but I think you can do both. I think that you can support your local teams, and I think that you can help raise those boats in the tide and get up early on a Saturday morning. Make an entire day of it. You start your day with your favorite club overseas, then you change jerseys, you swap out, you go to your tailgate for your local club, regardless of level and location. Make a day of the whole thing. Just have a doubleheader. Why not?
I honestly think that, like, with not having the season flip over right now, it's kind of tough in the sense of like MLS coming back mid-season and whatnot. I think that like in Chicago and in Orlando with these new players coming in, with Robert and Antonio, it's like, I feel like that is just adding even nationally more excitement, where like, thank goodness they're there, because like, that's like the thing that feels new. That's the thing that feels like, oh, like, let's see what this is. I want to tune into this. This is different. This is new. I think that's what's kind of, I think if there was something new and flashier, that could have helped. And I think it's helping a lot at least it seems from my perspective, from a national perspective, like it adds that level of intrigue to have. I mean, I'm from Chicago. I know what that means to Chicago to have a player like that come in, and like, I think that kind of like newness and energy and intrigue and momentum, is going to be kind of necessary to keep people really interested.
Okay, so then let me wrap on a couple of Chicago questions, kind of rapid fire. So Kuipers was kind of like, oh, okay, so Lewandowski's coming in. He's like, no, I'm out the door. So Kuipers goes to Monterrey. Lewandowski goes in. Do you think they get Goretzka for do you think they get Goretzka? Do you think they do?
I cover the business side of the World Cup.
I'm asking the fan here.
I'm not. Well, honestly, I haven't even like. I don't declare. I don't have teams because I feel like
you love all of your children equally.
Well, you have to put it in your whole bio, and it's like a whole thing, and then it's like, people know, and people are like, "Oh, she's biased," and whatever. I don't want to be. I'm not biased. I'm not. I don't declare. I don't have teams.
Okay, well, so then let me ask this: what do you think about Joe Mansueto building in the '78, building the new barn instead of being at Soldier Field?
See, okay, I actually do have thoughts on this. So I am a White Sox fan. I will put that out there. Long time, lifelong.
My apologies.
No, I love it. It's the best thing ever. And I think that it's impossible for me to like think about the Fire there without also thinking about the Sox there, and just how that kind of makes me nervous because I like the ballpark down where it is in Chicago. And so I think for the Fire, absolutely love it. Go for it. That's like a great stretch of land. I think the idea of like the bridge coming from Roosevelt Avenue and the like ferry that you can take to get to the games, like it seems like that's just been an area that's been it's like, it's like a marshland, like it's just kind of underdeveloped right there. And I think having teams in the city is great for everybody, especially if it's not like creating some kind of like emptiness because it was already empty. There's nothing there. So it's not like demolishing something vibrant to put something not vibrant. I think it seems great. I'm excited for that area to have like, a team right there, and it's close to a lot of things. It's easily accessible. Like, I think it's great for the Fire to get their own stadium. I think Soldier Field's a really hard venue to play in and like try to fill, and also getting there is kind of tough. It's similar to where the new stadium is going to be, but you still have to walk along with, I think it'll be, great, and they'll be able to do concerts. And I'm sure that there's a lot of like other back and forth, and like I know now there's some public funding in there that wasn't supposed to be in there, and there's a lot of back and forth, but like just on the surface level, I think the team being downtown is a great thing.
I still think the stadium is too small, though. I think it's got to be closer to 30. It can't be like 22, because if you're trying to entertain soccer as a growing sport here in the United States these days, you've got to be closer to 30.
I mean, that's the issue for I feel like so many soccer stadiums. I mean, think about CPKC. I think I always confuse the order of the letters, and how they were already selling out larger than that before that even opened. And obviously that's a lot smaller than 22, but yeah, I think a lot of people are having that issue and going to have to, build bigger or find out some other way to build higher or whatever it is, like, or just have that, smaller venue and ride with it. But I think a lot of people are having that issue.
And so what's after you recover, which I imagine will take up probably the rest of this weekend, and maybe into next week. After you've recovered, what are you going to be chasing after next at front office?
Guess we'll just have to see. I mean, it's been all kind of World Cup and postmortems and on the come down this week, and we'll see. I'm gonna go home, take a week off in August, so that's kind of my on the horizon, taking some time. But I mean, there's a lot coming up, so excited to see where it takes me. But hopefully we can get back a little bit more on the. I was doing a lot more on the women's side before this. Thing that happened this summer. It would be nice to get back to that a little bit too, because they have a lot of exciting stuff going on over there. And I'm excited that, there's like Liverpool Wrexham next week. I'm not sure if I'll go to the match, but I know I'll go to some events and stuff. So there's stuff happening here in New York. So I'm excited to keep going in. Yeah.
And in the NWSL, let's see, Denver pushed back their stadium another year. So the stadium won't be ready till 28. I think Boston's on the same timeline now, that they're not going to be ready until 28. So you'll have Atlanta coming in 28. You'll have Columbus coming in 28. You'll have Denver's stadium completed in 28, and you'll have Boston Stadium completed in 28. It's like this harmonic convergence, hopefully, that the NWSL is chasing after.
Yeah. It's like an extra level of professionalism and like credibility, legitimacy. You're like, okay, like we have these teams, they're in their own stadiums, they're in their, they have for, the two, Denver and Boston, like the purpose built for Columbus and Atlanta, like joining up with these, existing successful franchises and successful ownership groups. I mean, I think it'll be great. I mean, I think I'm excited for y'all in Atlanta. I mean, it seems just like this has been kind of a long time coming. And it seems like everybody's just taking their time, and in some ways it feels like it's all entering at a great time when, like, this is somebody who can support a training center and can support, a nice stadium and good things for, it feels like, every women's league across sports is working toward this level of, like, professionalism and owning facilities and good facilities and all the things. Like, the interest is there, but just raising the bar. And yeah, I think Atlanta will certainly be a part of that conversation in terms of raising the bar.
And we will continue to knock on your door when it comes to anything and everything. When it comes to the business side, BID''NESS, the business side of things. Glad to see that you are on the mend. I know that we had to push this back a day because you probably spent all of yesterday in with the shades down, nothing on TV, email. It was all taken away, and you're just like, I'm not answering the phone for anything.
Every time that I'm like, oh, I'm taking the day off, like, excited to rest, it's like, nope, gotta go to the laundromat. So that was the every time I think I'm in the clear, it's like, no, you've been on the road for 2 weeks. Gotta go take care of that. So
yes,
hopefully this weekend I can do a little more sleeping. But no, thank you for fitting me in today. I love coming on anytime.
As always. No, it's always great to catch up with you to find out about the business side of things, because it is an important aspect that we all need to know on. Go recover. Go continue recovering. It's always great to see you, my friend, and we will catch up with you soon. That's a promise.
Sounds great. Thank you, John.
There you go. Margaret Fleming from Front Office Sports. She's going to go, collapse on a sofa or something. She's 11. I wrote down all of the different places. So LA, Kansas City, then it's the Netherlands and Sweden, then New York, then Philly, then Boston, back to New York. Then it was July 4th in Philly to see two teams, not America. Irony alert. Seattle, Miami, Atlanta, and the final. I hope she's getting miles and points for all of that. I really hope she's getting miles and points for all of that. Well deserved. And it's always great to catch up with Margaret and find out what's going on up there at Front Office Sports, because business side's important. We got to know about it. So hopefully she continues to recover. And yes, Bart, without question, it is much better than Bridgeview. Yes, the 78 will be much better than Bridgeview. Better home than Soldier Field. Yeah, because it's cavernous. It is cavernous. Absolutely cavernous. And yeah, I mean 31 for the women's. Then you're going backward, 29, 28, two things in 28, one in 29, 31 for the women. And it's going to be completely out of control. So let's see. I think we might have covered everything. We did the gossip. We did the rumors. We did the innuendo. We caught up with Margaret Fleming, caught up with Dax McCarty in Cape May, New Jersey. And he's getting ready for his action that he's got with Evan Weston, with Nashville and Orlando. He's got a good one on Saturday. And obviously also with Atlanta. Once again, it's a busy weekend. It is, reminder, once again, Atlanta, it is Five Stripes Countdown at it's got to be at 6:30, isn't it? So Five Stripes Countdown is at 6:30, and then you're going to have the match with Mike and Jason up in what you call it, Foxborough. Pre-game 6:30, 92.9 the game in the Odyssey app. Madison and A we're going to be there. Mike and Jason, kickoff 7:40 in Foxborough, and then it's going to be a full-time report after that. I will be in Peachtree City for the UPSL National Semifinal with SCU Heat out of Lexington, South Carolina, and Miami United. That'll be at 6 o'clock from MOBA. You can catch that on UPSL websites and all of our friends that are attached to the UPSL. Then you got the twos, early morning Sunday, 11 o'clock, and we'll keep you posted, obviously, broadcast plans, One Football, MLS YouTube channel, MLSnextPro.com, and we'll figure out our broadcast plans there as well. There's a great piece in the Morning Espresso with Jose Silva and finding out your identity. So very, very cool stuff. And radio will be on the SDH network. So 10:30 pregame, 11 o'clock broadcast. And then after that, every match will be at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Center. Odd hours. Some of the hours are a little goofy. But once again, valid tickets claimed through Ticketmaster on the Atlanta United 2 website. You get in for free. You have to adhere to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium policy for bags and entry. But it's free. And when they figure out transportation plans and parking, which is going to be off-site, then they'll let you know about that. But the remaining 6 home matches will all be at the Children's Healthcare Atlanta Training Center. The one Sunday morning, closed to the public, but we'll have the broadcast for you. And then we'll have all the other broadcasts as you go. But home matches, they're at Atlanta United Training Center, Children's Healthcare Atlanta Training Center for Atlanta United the rest of the season. And attendance will be free, but you've got to make sure that you adhere to MBS rules when it comes to bags. Have a valid ticket when you walk in the door, and that'll be the way to wrap up the season for Atlanta United 2 and MLS Next Pro. So ahead of the match, Maddie and Jason caught up with Jose Silva. You can get that at Morning Espresso. Go to soccerdownhere.net, and then that way you can get that conversation. There's also a great conversation Maddie had with Cameron Dunbar that's also available in audio and video, and that is available up there as well. So that is another week, wow, of SDH AMs. A lot of guests and a lot of fun. So I can't thank all of y'all enough. Morning, Bart. Morning, Abby. Morning, David. Morning, Alex. Let's see. Who else did I miss that was here? Morning, Lokeville. And, yeah, we're probably going to do reffing down here with our man Sergi Boyko because Bart saw it, and we were going back and forth on it. But it'll be interesting to see how Atlanta United looks when they go to New England this weekend to take on the Revs and back at it again on the road next weekend when they're in Philly. We'll catch up with our friend Dave Leno next week to get the intel on Philadelphia Union. So since it is the end of yet another week, thanks to all the guests and thanks to all of y'all for hanging out with us as you always do. Since it is the end of the week, that means we wrap it up in only one way and one way only. Mucha plot, y'all play it safe. We'll see you around the corner. We'll see you before we know it.
The war was on. The keys on the typewriter had sharp points that kept sticking into our fingers. The dictating equipment started asking us questions, and our beepers sent electric shocks just through our body like a cattle prod. Out in the warehouse, the trucks kept banging into the docks, not even thinking about stopping. Oh, our frail bodies were strapped to the chairs, and our chairs were chained to the desks. Our pleas for justice were ignored, and the end seemed near. But we busted our slave drivers' little bitty balls. We've charged out of their brick fortress. The streets are ours. Be gone.